The following is a Live the Dream Media production.
Hello and welcome to the Faith Family Schools podcast with your host, Christopher DeSimone.
All right, everybody, it is Thanksgiving week, and welcome back to Faith Family Schools. We are live on Facebook under Faith Family Schools, and then live on YouTube with our media partner, Live the Dream, which we're doing every day here at Faith Family Schools. Go to faithfamilyschools.com. That will lead you to Instagrams, Facebooks, and all that other good stuff to access all of our content. And then remember, complaints like please get off the air and all that other stuff, that goes to faithfamilyschools@gmail.com. And I want to welcome to the show my very good friend Clint Peek, Live the Dream Media, and Copper Creek Cookies.
Fresh Catering. Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving.
Now, is this the 3-hour episode of all the things that we're grateful for? Because I think we can cover like maybe the first half.
Well, again, so we're going to talk about, I want to talk about a little bit about gratitude per se. We're going to talk about the health benefits of gratitude, because there's health benefits. I actually have nerd research I've done today on gratitude. But for you, let's ask you real quick, what's gratitude mean to Clint Peek and the entire family in your company? Talk about gratitude in your life.
Well, first off, I want to shout out my wife, Tammy. Today is her birthday.
All right, happy birthday,
So there's
Tammy.
gratitude in spades. Gratitude, boy.
It's a big word, my friend.
It's a big word. And you know what? We were just talking off air just right before we came in.
Right.
We have so much to be thankful for.
We do.
As individuals, as I sit here right now, I'm surrounded by incredible people. I'm surrounded by smart people that I just know they were sent to be in my orbit, and I hope that I can hold up my end of the bargain.
I'm a big believer that if you're doing the right things in the right way, those people,
it's unreal.
The Lord and the universe throw them your way in a way.
My daughter, the other night, we were out a little pre-birthday celebration, and she said, "Dad, everybody you're seeing, you're hugging. Are you a hugger all of a sudden? Because I'm really not. People that I care about that are really close to me, I'm a hugger for sure.
Sure.
But now it's like we just have a hug-a-fest. The people I know, there's that aura. It's not like I'm going to them with open arms.
Yeah, people told me with
feel
Clint, if they start hugging you, then you're okay. And you started hugging me now, so I figure I'm not too bad.
Gratitude, though. Thankful. You know what I'm thankful for? Our relationship, yours and mine.
Oh, yeah.
It's just accelerated over the last 12, 14 months.
Well, and it develops, and there's lots of cool things on the horizon that excite us about what we do every day.
So do you not get up and I know you get up because I got a message from you this morning at 3:42.
It's true.
I was not. I just rolled over the first time
I do a morning radio show in Tucson, so.
And it comes on at 6.
6.
But don't you usually wake up most mornings just like you're so pumped?
So
again, what's laying out in front of you?
Back to my Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss, right? Every day, whatever you're doing, if this is what you love to do, never feels like a job, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how sick you are, tired you are, you're going to do it because you love doing it. And so there's days that maybe I went to sleep late, which is for me like 9, or even like 10, and then I wake up and it's been a rough week or whatever. But once the music, we kick off with Crazy Train at 6:05 on my show, all of a sudden the adrenaline kicks in, and you would never know any of that stuff ever happened.
Because I haven't always been that way. There have been things that especially as a younger person, it was more like the grind.
So I always say I can improve the universe, the world. Let's start with the world before we get to the universe. If I could have 40% of the human beings on the planet Earth pursuing their bliss,
oh man,
right? The amount of exponential happiness throughout the world would be
a number.
No,
there's no way.
I'm just saying that's what I want.
No, if you want, no. If you want, oh yeah, 40. I mean, we'd be killing it. We'd be killing it. I'd settle for double what we got right now, which I believe, honestly, correct me if it's somewhere around 10%.
I think you're too high.
Yeah, and I probably am too high.
So I used to say, I'm a graduate of the Hotel Restaurant Management School in Flagstaff, right? And so I'd come back once in a while and teach the seniors. They were just going to graduate, and I'd put the number 50% on the on the board, and they'll go, well, what's that, dude? And I go, well, 50% of you going into the hospitality business will not be hospitable.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean, bro? This is my life. And I
Yeah.
said, because a lot of you either don't have proper manners.
Right.
This is hospitality.
Yeah. Pretty. That's primary. Manners number one.
Right. Or you're miscast.
Yeah.
Right. And and people will get it. If you love what you do in the hospitality world, right, and you will basically treat everyone who walks into your place like your favorite aunt and uncle,
Right.
no matter how bad your day is.
Right.
And that's not in a lot of people's DNA, sad to say.
You know, you mentioned earlier, and I agree with you 100% about gratitude, but I think most people are so caught up in the moment that they don't realize how fortunate they really are. First off, if you're second air, there's something to be. You've got life. The
Right.
fact that you were even born.
Right.
I mean, the odds are astronomical. And I think, and I know as a younger person, although I've always been kind of a grateful person and a spiritual person, I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Your spirituality, your connection with a higher being has
Sure.
a great role in your happiness or your approach to stuff. But if you really love something, people talk about, you mentioned it's really not work, but it actually is. But you love it so much, you're willing to throw it all in there.
Yep.
And very few people have
It's a great place to be.
But I can tell you this for sure, being in that point, especially the last 10, 15 years of my life,
Yep.
it works.
Yep. One of the phrases we're gonna hear a little bit later, I think, is take for granted. Yeah. Right. That's a human.
Guilty
Yeah.
of a lot of it.
Right.
A lot of times.
We all are. So this idea of gratitude, no matter what faith system you're in, this is a universal thing. That this is showing that if you are cognizant of your gratitude and you express your gratitude, it's a better way of living. So I'm going to give you a few quotes. Chris did research. You're like, what? Yeah. Research? Our boy. I'm going to start with our boy. Well, let's start off bigger. Let's start off with and I'm a cradle Catholic, and on Thanksgiving morning they always do a Thanksgiving mass. And the story is always about the 10 lepers with the Lord, right? And only one of them came back to say thanks, right? Here you are with this horrible skin-rotting disease. This amazing man you run into tells you to go show yourself to the high priests, and magically you were cleansed, but only one came back. Yeah. Hey, it's back to your 10%.
Yeah. Now, when you were saying that, I'm like, I think you just verified that.
Our boy Fulton Sheen, look him up. Gratitude is the characteristic only of the humble. The egotistic are so impressed by their own importance that they take everything given them as if it were due. Mm-hmm. They have no room in their hearts for recollection, and I love this one, of the undeserved favors that they received.
Yeah, beautiful. And I would encourage people to check Father Sheen out. What a cool dude he was.
The other one I like.
I'm not being disrespectful to the father by calling him a cool dude, but I'm telling you he was a cool dude.
So we're both Christian, but I want to talk about other faiths, right? So Buddha, let us rise up and be thankful. I love this line. If we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little.
Yeah.
I like that one. I also like this one, also from Gautama Buddha. Good men and bad men differ radically. Bad men never appreciate kindness shown them, but wise men appreciate and are grateful. Wise men try to express their appreciation and gratitude by some return of kindness, not only to their benefactor, but to everyone else. And then my last one, the Confucius guy, I put this on Facebook yesterday. I was complaining that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Yeah. Right? And so what I like about this is talking about not just, so for a lot of us, the benefactor we believe is God, the great benefactor.
Amen.
Right? But also there are people who are our benefactors who are human beings, men and women of all ages, sizes, and that are also help you out in this world.
My mother.
Right?
Zig Ziglar used to say, you can have all you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want in life.
Sure.
So in other words, put people first. If there were a book that proclaimed that, my mother's picture would be next to it.
Right.
I mean, she legitimately, it's about you. Legitimately. And I could take you to how she spends her life and what she does. I hate to say it this way, but she won by using that technique. It was never that strategy wasn't for her to win.
Right.
But the end result, because of the kindness in her heart, I mean, it's crazy. We as children have many times said, Mom, you don't have to do that.
So there's benefactors who give you advice, but also the big benefactors are the ones who are at least sacrificing something of their life for you to be better.
And that's her. I'm telling you,
So
that is her.
It starts with parents.
It does.
But it also could be business owner managers.
Exactly.
Right? It could be sports coaches.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So my take, if any person that's ever worked for me in the hospitality business or otherwise, what I would always say, look, my job is I'm going to give you all the tools.
Yeah, my job is to make you better.
Right? And all I want to be known for as a manager here is that I had 4 or 5 people who work for me who blossomed in their career.
Yeah.
If you have that attitude,
yeah.
Right? That's how you do it, right?
We had a client here at Live to Dream Media. They blew up. They just literally they sold. They no longer need our services. We're ecstatic for them.
Right.
Because that means what we're doing works.
Right.
Now, the cool thing is they're too young to retire, so they're starting a new business, and you know what they're doing? First call they make is to David. Hey, David, let's do it again. But we're ecstatic. It's kind of like a parent, right? When your kids grow and they mature and they start accomplishing things on their own, the pride we get as parents it's immeasurable.
So the deadly phrase "take for granted."
Take for granted, yeah.
Right. It's somehow it's in our psyche, right? It's human nature. Take for granted.
Why do we do that? I mean, other than it's innate in human beings. If someone does something kind for you, how hard is it to say, "Hey, thanks, Chris. You did great. I appreciate that." It's not difficult.
So
it's not difficult to smile at someone. It's
true.
not difficult to pat someone on the back. It really isn't. It's not difficult to offer somebody a hand if they need it. It's really not hard. And again, I had a gentleman hold the door for me the other day. A gentleman held for me. And
Sure.
then my group was coming in, and I said something like, "Wow, you're great." And he's a gentleman my age or older, and he's like, "My mom would not be impressed if I wasn't doing this right now." Right. And I turned, and my mother was following me, and I'm like, and she's right there watching me too. So we got to be on our best behavior. And Faith Family Schools, that's the well, I would say it's all 3 of them, but certainly the family part of that. That's where we're derelict as a society of teaching good manners anymore.
Right.
When you were a kid growing up, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, please, thank you. Everybody was Mr. or Mrs.
So, but that's where so take for granted. It's such a strong part of our nature, right? And fighting it, that does start in the home.
Exactly.
Right? Setting the example for your kids. You gotta. Who knew that a Tecate beer commercial would be so prophetic? It's the one with Canelo. Yeah. Right, and he's barbecuing, and he's going to do something, and out of nowhere comes Sly Stallone, and he goes, "Hey, yo, Canelo, be bold." Right, and in this Faith Family Schools discussion, right, raising your kids, right, preaching from a pulpit, no matter what your faith tradition is, right, being in school leadership, being a teacher, be bold.
Mm-hmm.
That's really one of the overriding things that needs to happen more. Right, we've been too sheepish.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of us know what's the right thing to do, but because of I want to be liked, or I put a quote on my Facebook page about what this one cardinal said about pastors and how they're too scared. Right. And that idea of laying your life down for your sheep is very alien to that. Not that I'm saying they need to die for their flock, but the lack of boldness coming from these folks. That's where we're losing the battle on Faith Family Schools. The other side, who is trying to denigrate it, maybe some of them don't even know they're doing it after a while, but they're doing it. They're bold as hell.
Yeah, I think most of them don't know what they're doing.
Right.
The ones that are pushing the agenda, obviously, know what they're doing.
No, I agree.
But the rest of them,
they don't know any. They don't know any better.
They don't know any better, and it's propaganda that's been fed to them, both from a pulpit, both from their family, and in school. What's 8-year-old Johnny? Nobody's providing that example for him.
Right.
And I don't want to paint the huge like it's all negative, but the reality of it is, as Pastor Craig Coulter from the pulpit Sunday said, is it just me, or am I watching my country like fall apart? And the reality of it is, we've got problems.
That's pretty bold for a pastor to say that from the pulpit. I like it.
Well, Craig's a pretty bold guy.
God bless him.
Yeah.
So,
and is it not true though? I mean, when you look at like the 50, it don't even have to be I was going to say the 50 largest cities are all in a mess. All of them.
Right.
I mean, homeless rampant on the streets. Fentanyl use is out of control. It's just it's unimaginable that the United States that I grew up in is where we're at today. It's just it's unimaginable.
So I think like spiritually, mentally, right? What happens is over the years that you don't even know, right? There's endorphin pops.
Yeah. I get you.
Right.
Good call at the holidays, by the way.
Right. We got endorphin pops, but we have serotonin. I'm getting all chemically on everyone today. I apologize. Right.
Trust the science.
There was a guy that I interviewed. His name's Dr. I think it's Eric, the cool way with an E-R-I-K, Lustig, Lustig, University of San Francisco. He wrote this amazing book. We should get him on Faith Family Schools, actually.
Okay, let's do it.
He wrote a book called The Hacking of the American Mind. And he's an endocrinologist.
I love the title.
Right? And he really talks about how society-wise, this is why showing gratitude's hard, even harder than ever, right? Because our priorities are all screwed up. We're amazingly distracted by Satan phone, streaming, all of these things, right? And he goes, it's about food companies learned how to pop your endorphins through sugar, caffeine. Mm-hmm. Starbucks, there goes our corporate sponsorship. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then he talks about how like internet companies, like social media companies, and also entertainment know how to just give you that little endorphin pop.
Yep.
So there are people who they are very much affected on whether or not they get a like on their post. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why when you get that little red thing that shows up on your little notifications on Facebook, right? And you get 2 likes or a comment, for some they've trained you.
Yes.
That's like kind of
that's
part
that
of
little the cheese that's dropping down to the mouse in the maze. It's just, we're going to feed you just enough to keep you coming back. It's a drug. There's no doubt about it.
So think about it. Have you ever done a thing, or maybe some of our older folks, because you only join these things because your kids told you, get on Facebook so you can finally see pictures of your grandkids.
Yeah.
Right? What will happen is they'll start harassing you through messages and emails, right? And they'll say, you might have done nothing, right? But someone you might have liked said, oh, and Johnny's whatever did this, right? Because they want you back on there to get your little endorphin pops. And what happens is when you keep getting just endorphin popped and you're not working on your serotonin levels, which is more that long-term contentment, right? You become like a drug addict.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want more.
You
become desensitized to the lower endorphin pop, and you want more.
And you mentioned distraction. I'm going to quote Craig Coulter again from Sunday's message. He goes, this week the challenge was, and this is easy for me. I do this. I've done this for years.
Yep.
Spend 10 minutes alone with yourself. 10 minutes, I mean, literally no phone, no computer, no kids, no wife, 10 minutes. And I've challenged people over the years to say, hey, just be quiet for a few minutes. You're going to drive to Phoenix, for example. Leave your radio off until you get to Casa Grande, Picacho, right? Well, that's not going to happen, right? They're an addict to whatever that
so there's also that
distraction is. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is.
I'm guilty of it.
Oh,
right?
I do too. Now, if I'm going to Phoenix and I'm by myself, there's a lot of times I'll drive all the way to Phoenix with no radio at all.
What a nut.
Yeah, total nut. But you know what? It takes, first off, I think it takes at least 10 minutes to unwind to the point that your mind is free enough to start. Personally, I think boredom is what creates. I've never been bored in my life, by the way. I was never allowed to use it. But boredom is what creates new thoughts and new creativity. People, you want to be creative? Allow yourself to be just completely blank for a minute. No, are you capable? Do you do that?
Yes. And so what happened, I have a friend of mine who lives in Colorado, and she was talking about what she does in these situations. It's not just the silence, right?
Right.
So what she does, I'm sure it could be something that you would probably hear in a yoga class or something, but being conscious of your own breath.
Yes.
Right? Just sit there and be conscious of your air going in and out of your lungs and the processes of your body in a way. Yeah. Just do that. If she's like, just start for 3 minutes a day. And she says it's amazingly tough for the average human being. So not only are you quiet, but you are literally concentrating on the breath of life going in and out of your body.
I love to do it outside. Nighttime's great because there's less distraction.
Yep.
But you're looking in the stars. You're looking, and you do that long enough, you almost become part of nature again, like we used to be before we had all the distractions. So I think I probably told you this once before. I'll be real quick in telling this story. There was they were doing a study about being able to sit quietly, and they told they had men and women equally. I think it was like 40 or 50 of each, male and female, and they told them in advance, we want you to go in this room and sit quietly for 15 minutes. In the meantime, we also can hook you up to this little gizmo that will give you a little shock, a little jolt, and we're going to show you what it's like beforehand, so you're not like wondering what you have in front of you. So we're going to give you that little 9-volt bolt. Beautiful. And you know what? It was like I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like almost all the dudes and most of the women did not make it to the 15 minutes without starting to mess with the little thing that's giving them a little shock. 15 minutes is not very long unless you're just trying to focus on being still.
We've all done it.
And then it seems like
what happens
3
when you
hours.
can't find your phone? You're freaked.
Yeah. Can somebody call me? I can't find my phone. Text me. I can't find my phone.
So you've heard about electromagnetic pulses that can knock out all your electronics? Just kill America's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You'll just you'll paralyze the entire country.
Twitter was out for 2 hours. What happened? Facebook what does it all the time. You see, you're on digital all the time. There's glitches all the time, and they're moving stuff around, and you're like, but I pushed here before. Well, again,
I can't even use the back button anymore. But then they fixed that.
They fixed that. You must have an Android, right?
I do.
Yeah, me too.
So the nerds at UCLA Health.
Okay, what'd they say?
So this is, and it's so interesting because I don't know if it's a waste of my government money or not, but we'll go from there. A review of 70 studies that went over 26,000 people found an association between higher levels of gratitude and lower levels of depression. Wow. Which makes sense.
Does that make? Yeah, of course it
makes sense, right? I mean, when you start caring about others and not focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
How does that not decrease your depression?
Yeah.
Right? That makes too much sense in the world.
Yeah. It's too. Yeah. You know, I tell a lot of. I'm surrounded by a lot of young people. You are too. My kids' age. I said it almost sounds like magic or a fairy tale. But
Which
I
part?
share that part that you're saying.
Oh.
If you're genuinely concerned about being nice to other people, and we're not talking about you got to go paint somebody's house every day or do that, but just hold the door, have a kind word for someone, especially if you see someone alone or by themselves. Acknowledge them. Say, hey, how are you?
Love others as you yourself would like to be loved.
It's the second commandment.
Right, and think about how do you like when you're thanked for something?
Yeah.
Right?
It feels good, doesn't it?
Gives
you, hey, Chris, you're doing a great job.
I feel like I want to do those, one of those power phrases, right? Gratitude's free.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't cost anybody anything.
But you mentioned the word earlier. You know as well as I do. It's ego.
Oh yeah. So yeah, right. So there's that. That's that.
And we all have an ego.
Sure.
Let's get straight about that. Yep. Come on.
Hex to the heirs.
But don't. Yeah.
Again, so the sin of pride. Yeah. Right. Can of course just blot out a lot of good things in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but most of the time, even now, and I've lived 2/3, if not more, of my life. It's like, what are they talking about? Are they me? Really? I'm still that kid that grew up where I grew up. There's no second Clint. You know what I mean?
So
there's not a different Clint at home than there is out in public. He might be a little quieter. He might eat an extra piece of cake. I might,
So think about this. Think about we've all been going to church for years, decades, right? It's the first word of the podcast, Faith Family Schools. Have you ever had, how often have you had your pastor, priest, rabbi, whatever you got out there, teach you how to pray?
Yeah.
Right? And how many of them have said to you, you know something? You know what's a really cool thing you should do when praying to God is you should really go through what's those things you're thankful for?
Yeah.
Not just when you're eating turkey and stuffing,
Yeah.
but what are we doing during the rest of the year? Are you thankful for that spouse in your life, right? That truly is your life mate, right?
Yeah.
Who is that perfect complementary human being to what you do, and you for her or him, depending on what goes on, right? And your kids, right? And your family and the people you work with you guys do, you're working and doing the good work together. We don't say that.
Yeah.
Right, and we usually pray when there's no atheists in foxholes. When the crap's hitting the fan, when we really start praying hard, and that's life, human nature.
I need you to help me with my relationship, or I need more money, or my kids are driving me crazy, or my job sucks. All those things. And Pastor Chris Collins, who you've had on, also from OBCN, I love what he says about prayer. He says, "Pray what you got." Pray what you got, whatever it is and you know what? To me, it always should be gratitude.
Yep.
And if we get to the end and, oh, by the way, can you help me out in this, or can you show guidance here? And it's not a tactic.
Right.
But I'm so thankful. I'm more thankful than the things I'm concerned about. My gratitude goes way deeper than the few things I might be concerned about.
As a guy who's gone to Catholic church for the last 50 plus years, I'll tell you that out of that 50 years, I've heard one or two priests out of all those masses say, hey, when you pray, you should probably thank God for stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know why that's so hard.
Yeah.
I know I've been on a Thanksgiving Mass when
I think
we
you're
talk
right,
about
though.
the 10 lepers and Kurt's 10%.
Right. First place I ever went at
Clint's
7 days
10%,
old, week old, was to church. I mean, that's where I've been going for the last 6.5 decades. There was a stretch there in my 20s that I didn't go as frequently as I should have, but and you know what? I think you're right. I'm looking back at it. Now there were plenty of ministers that did talk about gratitude and being thankful, but a lot of them probably. You know why? You know why they didn't? They didn't know how to do it themselves.
Yep.
They weren't trained. They weren't taught. They weren't. And we think it's. I think people like you and I, and I'm going to throw you in this because, again, cradle Catholic, I think you and I, it was so modeled for us early on by our parents first.
Yeah. Amen.
That we kind of take a lot of this, I don't want to say for granted, but we do.
Sure.
I think you and I look at it through a different lens and say other people I know. My wife, for example, did not grow up in a church or a spiritual family. She went to church on her own as a child, but she didn't go because her parents were
it wasn't
going
getting
and
reflected
leading.
in the household.
Exactly. And so even now on her birthday, happy birthday again, Tammy.
Man,
we had these conversations. Well, I haven't gotten her anything yet. I'm hoping she's watching this or everybody's calling her, I guess. But I can see her now and watching, and other people. I know a lot of other people that their faith is either newfound or there's new strength in their faith, and you can see a lot of it. And I'm thinking, as an old Christian, wow, these are things from Sunday school when I was 3 or 8 or something. But these people are 3 or 8 in their walk.
Sure.
So why shouldn't they be at that point right now, even though I've long passed it? Which means I could easily become a take it for granted kind of person in a lot of this because it was just instilled at me, thankfully, at a young age.
So,
thankfully.
This is interesting. So same 2021 review of research found, not that I've ever done this, and I've never heard of it until reading this UCLA Health article, a gratitude journal.
Oh, I love it.
All right, so.
Oh man, stop it!
So think about this: when you're working on your weight problem at your doctor, right? Your
skinny doctor, by the way. Go to your skinny doctor if you're planning on losing weight.
I'll give my love. Jason Fung, diabetes code. Read that now. So they always say keep track of what you eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because everything that falls into your pie hole, write it down.
I love that.
And people are in shock. If you really do it faithfully, and they go, oh, I ate ho-hos at 10:59 at night. That was weird.
Yeah.
Right? So when you do that food journal, right, it's down on black and white.
Yeah.
What's making you aware of what you're eating.
Yeah.
Gratitude journal.
I love it.
Right?
I'm going to start one today.
I think we need to David, we're going to start a gratitude app.
Yeah.
And it just pops up
I love it.
Hey, what are you thankful for today?
Yeah.
So anyway, it said that it actually, according to this research, it caused a significant drop in diastolic blood pressure. Having grateful thoughts, even if you don't write them down, also helps your heart by slowing and regulating your breathing. So anyway,
That's
gratitude
cool.
article.
You know what? I
don't know if it's all gobbledygook, but I thought it was good for a
fact,
Thanksgiving gratitude show.
My blood pressure. I mean, people look at me and they're like, "Man, your blood pressure must be through the roof." I'm like, inside, it's almost too low.
Right.
And you know what? I think I'm going to give credit for my gratitude over the years. That my mom's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Well, that's what it says." She goes, "That's almost a little bit low, Clint." And I'm like, "It's because their inside doesn't match the outside." Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I would tell you the gratitude journal idea.
I love that.
Like. So I bought one of those. It was at Target. I know they're a bunch of weirdos, but I was at Target, and it was my kids and I love anything. I don't know why we have that problem with good pens.
Oh yeah. Yeah, got a
those,
special pen.
And those writing journals.
Yeah.
We love those things.
Yeah.
And so I got one called It's Your Life. And it's prompts where you basically fill out biographical information about yourself, but a lot of memories and things like that. And I'll tell you, for me, that's been just writing that down. And then, of course, then you really start looking at, we talked about parents and those influences on you, right? So all of a sudden I'm thinking about not just my relationship with my parents that, was me and my brother in those days and how good of an influence they were on both of us, but also teachers, baseball, basketball coaches that I had, right? And it really made me think, well, because remember, ego.
Yeah.
I'm like this. I'm all special because I'm special, right? And you really look at how, all of those thoughts and ideas and caring from those people help build Clint, help build Chris.
When you said that, I just had an overwhelming sense of, especially the men in my life. I was blessed. I've got an incredible mother. I've got an incredible wife. I've got an incredible daughter. I have 2 incredible sisters. I'm surrounded by really strong women, which is great. I love that. I mean, it takes a lot of pressure off of you if you're surrounded by people that are strong. But the male role models that I had in my life, starting with my father, then I lost my father, 3 decades ago. There was a gentleman in my life. His name was Dick Clements. He is now passed on.
Okay.
He didn't have sons. He had daughters, but he didn't have sons. We worked together. He's kind of a rough dude, little guy, but really tough. He's from New York, by the way.
Love it.
And Gold Glove boxer and all
so
this
stuff. So a little
stuff.
tough dude that can fight.
Yeah, he was, and he's just good.
He's like Wolverine from the X-Men
and
without the claws.
He was one of those guys that was just so anal about everything that a lot of the people where we worked at that time, this was 30-something years ago.
Didn't like him?
Weren't crazy about him because he's just so anal. But he had such an important job. And what we did,
I was going to ask you, what were you guys doing then?
We hauled every cigarette that went through the state of Arizona to McLean's warehouse out on the east side of or the west side of Phoenix.
Wow!
And so we're talking about, 3-4 million. This is 30 years ago. $3 or $4 million worth of cigarettes.
40 years ago?
Yeah.
That's when cigarette was healthy, right?
That's when they were safe. That was when
extend your life.
Yeah,
Smoke some Chesterfields.
The doctors recommend. But he was just a great role model because I'm in my mid-30s. He's in his mid-60s. Just a great role model. He and Tammy and I actually started a photography business that really went well for a number of years in Phoenix. And then when I moved here, my mother had remarried a gentleman named George Schulte.
Right.
He's a corporate guy. Spent a lot of time with 3M. I told you the stories. I won't get into all that again. But just a really good dude. And I thought as I become the age, all those were, my dad, was this age when he passed. And I thought, I naturally grew into this guy, that a combination of all three of them without even knowing it and being aware of it. And I'm now surrounded by a ton of young people, but young men, a lot of them in their 30s, mid-30s, where I was at. And Tammy was laughing one day, just a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, she goes, you evolved from your dad, Dick, and George. And there were other men, coaches, sure. Herb Wicks, I remember as a coach, Roland Sledge, people like that were just awesome. But those three stood out at each of them at different points in my life. When I needed a male role model the most, I had the best.
Yeah.
And so when it became my turn to kind of like take that role, it was so natural to me. I didn't even know I was doing it until one day my wife pointed out, you're a combination of your dad, Dick, and George all in one.
Teaching those lessons like you're doing now because the roles are reversed is actually an act of gratitude towards those men.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right? Keeping us on point of gratitude, right?
Absolutely.
I
don't want to do anything that would disrespect my father's memory, Dick's memory, George's memory, and the value of life that they instilled in me. I told a friend of mine yesterday, whose name coincidentally is Clint, or Clint squared. I said, you may lay claim to this, but I'm the most blessed person you've ever met.
Right.
You may feel the same way, but I know for a fact I feel how could I not have gratitude? If you feel you're the most blessed person that was ever born. I didn't say I was the most special person. I didn't say I was the coolest person. I didn't say I was the smartest, best looking. We all know better than that. But the most blessed, how could you be blessed more than I am?
So gratitude is just like forgiveness. You can start today.
Yes. Good call.
Right.
Preach.
You can start today.
I love it.
Right. And so to wrap this sucker up, because it is Thanksgiving week, Thanksgiving's in 2 days from today, is what I would start with. So you're at a dinner table eating good food with humans, right? At a day called Thanksgiving. So the universe has set this up. Stop watching the crappy NFL and pay attention, okay? And I want you to concentrate who's around the table. Concentrate who's around the table, and then remember those who are not around the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you something. Start there and make your mental prayer list that you're thankful for all those people around that table.
You know what we've done as a family from when I was a little kid, and we'll do it this Thanksgiving as we've done all of them in the past. Everybody in the room goes around. We're going to go around this in a circle. We're going to hold hands at the beginning, and we're going to say a prayer.
Yep.
And then you don't need to give us a 30-minute dissertation on this. Tell us one thing you're grateful for right now or you're thankful for.
Yep.
Or who you're grateful for. It's real easy. And even if you got 30 or 40 people, you can knock this thing out in 2 or 3 minutes because nobody's going to give you more than a line or two. And because most people are just thankful that their turn's up.
So my thing is be mindful of who's there in your life to be thankful for, right? And then remember, use this as your kickstart throughout the year that you're going to be consistently thankful between Thanksgivings also. Use the day as that kickstart moment.
I like this.
To be grateful for a lot of these things in your life. And also be grateful for these people because you never know when one day they're going to go away.
Yeah.
Right? And especially if you have seniors in your life that are, in their 70s, 80s, 90s, they may not be here for the next Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So be thankful for all that they taught you and all that you did together and that presence in your life because they helped make you, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So
hey, can I throw this in real quick?
Please, my friend.
I want to talk. I mentioned Craig and the 10 minutes of silence, just thinking quietly, and I don't want to change that. But you know what? I want to add to that your journal of gratitude. So let's take your 5, 7, 10 minutes and be quiet, be still.
Right.
And then when we're done with that, take another couple of minutes and just jot down what you're thankful for in that moment.
I'm telling you,
today.
great app idea. We may do it before you. So what happens is you schedule it every day. A prompt comes up and says, what are you grateful for today? And records it.
I love it.
And then it gives you a report at the end of the month.
I love it.
Here are the 30 things that you're grateful for. And that'll make you more mindful of those things to be grateful for.
I'm grateful for you. Our conversations just kept blossoming and growing, and I'm like, we got to do something more. And it was Faith Family Schools. I appreciate you, Chris. I appreciate your friendship.
Yep.
And I appreciate your willingness to be bold. You know, it's not always easy to be bold.
Oh, trust me.
Sometimes you're like, oh, do I need this attention on myself? It's not
that
you're drawing attention to yourself per se.
For standing for what I think's the right thing and being bold about those things, I've caught hell.
Yeah. And
right?
you're going to continue to. And you know that, and you still jump up.
You know.
As
we say, I don't want to leave anything left on the field.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was bold sticking to my guns during COVID and lockdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, I received death threats.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for something you posted the other day, and I'm thankful to the New York Times for having the courage to actually publish that. It's a brutal post-mortem, and we haven't even got to the end of this by any stretch of the imagination. We messed up, especially our children. I mean, we couldn't have messed up any more if we'd have deliberately. I don't think it was necessarily deliberate. Certainly in the beginning, I think it was confusion and lack of trust in a higher power.
I got them fired up on COVID.
But how could you mess something up that bad?
Oh, that's our next show.
I mean, it's and I hope that if you haven't read it, you need to read. When did that come out? Like Friday?
Just the last few days, yeah.
New York Times. There's various versions of it, reincarnations of it on the internet, but it's COVID. It's the New York Times take on COVID.
Basically on the destruction of children's education
and how it's horrible.
All right, let's end on a good note here. What's your favorite side dish on Thanksgiving?
Pumpkin pie with an incredible amount of Cool Whip. No, it is in my world. But if I have to do a side dish, I'm going to go. I like stuffing and gravy.
What kind of stuffing? There's lots of stuffing.
Yeah, I like.
What ingredients do you like in your stuffing?
Our bread.
Okay,
Copper Creek Cookies bread, and I can do the oyster. I know a lot of people do the oyster. I can definitely do it. If I don't get it, I'm okay not having it. I like turkey gravy, and so I'm not a mashed potato guy, so I have to double dip on the stuffing.
That's okay. I'm a stuffing guy myself. I make a recipe that was modified for my mom's, but I get good country sage sausage from the sausage shop.
What's yours?
And
the sausage and the sage, absolutely. Yep. What's your favorite side dish?
It's stuffing.
Yeah,
it is stuffing.
Really do. And a good turkey-based gravy.
I love turkey, and we put a lot of cream sherry in the stuffing.
Yeah.
Like when you're sautéing your onions and carrot.
They're making it right now in the bakery. I'm gonna have to sample a little bit to see if we're on par.
And then, I like pumpkin pie a lot. My America's Test Kitchen guys got me into making a sweet potato pie.
Not bad.
And what I like about their sweet potato pie, you can do it with a pumpkin too, right? So as you're baking your crust, right, before you pour in your custard, this is the coolest secret ever on a pie. You take just good dark brown sugar, sprinkle it on the hot crust.
Okay.
Then pour your on top. It gives this sweet little caramelized thing to the crust.
Like that, yeah.
It's so easy.
How about this? Have you ever had carrot souffle?
I know.
We're gonna have some at Christmas.
Okay.
It's better than pumpkin pie.
All right. That's bold, as we say.
As
we say in Dodgeball, the movie.
It's awesome.
That's bold words.
Well, sugar will do that. You put enough sugar in carrots.
All right, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You take care, my friend.
Appreciate it.
David out there in our booth. Happy
David
Thanksgiving.
David Samarano's killing it in the booth as always.
He's the man. He's our partner in crime and all.
And you know what? Thank you to all our listeners and viewers. We don't have a show without you guys. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're thankful for you. We're thankful for this opportunity to talk about Faith Family Schools because it's truly America's road back. You guys have an amazing Thanksgiving. And remember,